When Bob Iger created Disney Plus and pushed it through development through sheer force of will, he knew it would save his company, Disney, and it has, particularly during this pandemic, keeping that stock price up with some pretty sexy headlines. But I'm sure Bob Iger had no idea that Disney Plus would also save his last acquisition, Lucasfilm, namely Star Wars. It's incredible what Disney Plus has done for that brand. Now, the movie division is trying to get back on track. The next movie is confirmed now to be Patty Jenkins' Rogue Squadron, hitting theaters Christmas Day, 2023. That's a bit of a break, but I think the Star Wars movies need it. We'll talk about them a little bit more in a moment. But Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are taking their combined forces with their experience and their careers. It's really amazing when you think about it on that level. Marvel and Star Wars animation, and combining them to create a pocket universe that takes place right after the original trilogy, which is what I outlined to you a few months ago in my report on the plan for Star Wars moving forward. Now, I know, speaking of the movies, that some of you are holding out hope that Disney will retcon the new trilogy. That's been a rumor that's been going around, and I think a number of you enjoyed the Mandalorian Season 2 finale a little bit more than even what was on screen, because it seemed to maybe imply that. I don't think that's going to happen. I know that you wish it would in your heart of hearts, but I just don't see Disney wiping out an entire trilogy like that, especially because, maybe they're not even going to wipe out Solo, as you're going to see. And also, those movies made so much money. So they'll probably just be, I think they'll give it some space. Remember how many people hated the prequels at one point, right? Now people talk about them in hushed, hallowed voices, like the prequels are so great. So anything is redeemable. And I feel that, I do like a number of the characters that are there. And so I think someone like Filoni, and the reason that a lot of people like the prequels is because of Dave Filoni. So another individual, or maybe Dave Filoni, needs to come along and take pity on the Disney trilogy and say, there's stuff here, I'm going to do something with it. Because, I think Rey is a great character. Everybody loved Kylo Ren. As I joked before, Adam Driver had himself killed out of the franchise like his father before him. But Star Wars is definitely playing the long game. So I think they're just going to take a break from the Disney trilogy, but I don't think it will ever be wiped away. I just don't see it happening. And I don't think there's any need to, as much as it would delight some of you. So as I said in my initial report, Disney will simply sidestep the new trilogy for a while with stories that take place in other parts of the Star Wars timeline, which is quite vast. And Favreau and Filoni, again, have staked out the section right after Return of the Jedi. Favreau was talking about that in his interview on Good Morning America this morning, about how much he loved the original trilogy, and so this allows him to play, to tell stories, spinning right out of that without having to deal with any of the baggage of the later, with the Disney trilogy. And that also allows Filoni to continue with his animated characters as well, catching up with them about 4 years later, after Rebels, which is the length of time the original trilogy covers, and Rebels wraps up right around when the original trilogy gets started. And also, there's a very, we've discussed this and others have discussed it, there's a very strong foundational level of Star Wars fans. They're like the foundation of Star Wars fandom, and the most aggressive and the most vocal, who are also really building off of the original three films. That's what made them Star Wars fans in the first place. And so this is a very clever bit of a cheat to pick up right after that left off, because you're building on what people love so much. There's still a bit of a nostalgia play that's going on, and I think there's some feeling that maybe Star Wars needs to just move ahead with new characters, which they're doing a mix of that. But it's a big knot, Star Wars. With what Lucas did with it, and he went through his own period of being hated, so much so that he actually sold what he created. He was so tired of dealing with the hate that he sold it off. And then look, even he got redeemed. I'm telling you, you just have to wait, because years later people are like, oh, maybe George Lucas should have continued telling his stories. But when he sold it, everyone was like, hooray! All right, so anyway, I'd also like to note, though, speaking of who's in charge, the number of shows that Favreau and Filoni are producing is so many I think that it's unlikely either of them will take over Kathleen Kennedy's job because they're fine and quite busy exactly where they are. Plus, in their current position, they're able to be involved creatively, writing and directing. Jon Favreau wrote, I believe, every episode of season 2. Maybe I think actually he didn't write the second to last one, but and Filoni is spearheading Ahsoka creatively, which we're going to discuss in a moment. So if they were to take over Kathleen Kennedy's job, they really wouldn't be able to do that anymore. So I think that's the problem with getting creatives to take over these suit positions. That's why you have to get an executive. Kevin Feige over at Marvel is not a director or a writer. He is a producer, and so he's perfect for that job. So they have to find. Will Kathleen Kennedy, will she finally exit when her contract renewal now ends in 2021, this coming year? We'll see. Star Wars is in a much better place, although it still has a very contentious fandom. So maybe because Favreau and Filoni have turned things around so much, they will be able to find another executive who's willing to come on board and take it over at this point. Or maybe Kennedy will just wait it out. We'll see. Although she's taken on so much hate herself, she might want to just go and have another chapter herself. So today, again, in that Good Morning America interview, Favreau offered some clarification on the Book of Boba Fett, which was teased MCU style in an end credit scene at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2. He revealed that this is the next chapter of The Mandalorian that Kathleen Kennedy was talking about during Disney Investor Day, because it's all part of the same universe. That caused a lot of confusion, but even Favreau, I don't think, clarified it that well, considering how a lot of new publications covered it incorrectly. But if you watch the interview, he very clearly said that's the next chapter that Kathleen Kennedy was talking about. So it'll be coming out December 2021. And he even messed up when he was speaking and said, oh, it's coming out for Christmas 2021, which is what Kathleen Kennedy said, which is why some of you believe that the Book of Boba Fett will come out first, leading directly into The Mandalorian Season 3. But no, the Book of Boba Fett will come out December 2021. That's the Star Wars release and the next chapter of The Mandalorian, as was described. Now, Favreau also revealed that Robert Rodriguez, who directed Season 2's main Boba Fett episode, is also involved in the show. I thought his directing was subpar. Some of you loved it, but I hope he steps it up a little bit. Maybe he saw some of the criticism, and he will. So expanding, just like a Marvel character. You know how Marvel characters have sidekicks and those sidekicks start to get their own projects? Well, that's what's happening to Mando, right? So just like Marvel. So Ahsoka, which again, Favreau revealed that Filoni is spearheading creatively, which makes perfect sense. I thought he really knocked it out of the park with that episode this season. I think he write that one as well? But Favreau did the most of the writing on Season 2. But Filoni really obviously knows that character. He created her, and Rosario Dawson will be returning. And then there's also Rangers of the New Republic, which is rumored to, I think, makes sense to be following Cara Dune, who just joined the New Republic. Oh, I think those two shows sound fantastic. Now, neither of those shows has a release date, and they have not said when they're going to go into production. Mandalorian Season 3, that doesn't have a release date either, but Favreau did say that it's in pre-production right now, and will be going into production soon. No specific time was given, and no release date was given but for that. Now, The Mandalorian usually debuts first 2 seasons in fall/winter, and it looks like it will skip 2021. But as for 2022, that doesn't necessarily mean you'll have to wait till fall/winter 2022. Because it's going into production relatively soon, it could come out early or mid-2022. Now, Favreau, in discussing the 3rd season, was oddly cryptic in his interview about the focus of The Mandalorian Season 3. He said, the main character we all know and love. And it's, I think you have to pay attention because, Kathleen Kennedy wasn't specific because there was a reveal. And so I just think you need to pay attention to everything that's kind of being signaled. Now, will it focus on Grogu and Luke's training? Although then the Mandalorian title would make no sense. But there is already a rumor, I have not heard anything about this, but there's a rumor going around that they are maybe working on a Luke Skywalker show. It should be Sebastian Stan. I don't know how they would be able to afford to do an entire digital show on Luke Skywalker. That really makes no sense unless it's in another part of the timeline and doesn't involve Grogu. Also, maybe there'll be a time jump and Grogu and Mando will be able to reunite, because I think a lot of us feel, I said if Grogu goes away and gets trained, I'd love for it to happen between seasons, and maybe that's what will happen. And then Mando, of course, does have that Darksaber drama with Bo-Katan, and she's a Mandalorian, so she could be the focus. And then also there's Moff Gideon, who is now a prisoner of the New Republic. So they left a lot of dangling threads. They gave themselves a lot of options moving forward, which I think also plays into the expansion of that universe. You can see elements in the season 2 finale play out on those other shows. Moff Gideon could maybe show up in the Rangers of the New Republic with Cara Dune. We'll see. Now, expect more Star Wars, Clone Wars, and Rebels characters to cross over to live action in the Ahsoka show. With Ahsoka already making it clear that she's searching for Grand Admiral Thrawn. That's going to be an amazing role for somebody. And since Jedi Ezra Bridger was last seen surrendering to Thrawn in the animation, fans are speculating that he's someone who will definitely show up in that show. I heard Ezra Bridger is coming. I heard Sabine Wren is coming. And I think really any popular Star Wars Filoni animated character is a possibility at this point. This has been made clear by The Mandalorian Season 2. And it went so well, I think we'd all be very excited. I can't believe how well Ahsoka turned out. It's phenomenal. Now, as for the other Star Wars shows that are confirmed to be coming to Disney Plus outside of the Mandalorian universe. So I'm doing the order of the timeline. So we've got The Acolyte, which will take place during the High Republic era, which is set 200 years before the Skywalker saga. I believe that it's the prequels, the whole 9 movies. And that's when the dark side begins to emerge as we know it today. I think that's the case. I was looking into the dark side. It's been around a long time, but it's been evolving. As a member of Slytherin, I took the test on the Harry Potter website. I was in Slytherin. And a fan of the dark side in general, I'm excited to learn more. This series is still in development. Then Andor, following Cassian Andor, will take place before Rogue One, obviously, and that's already begun filming and is set for 2022. It must be early 2022 because it's already filming. So it's probably going to go Book of Boba Fett, Cassian Andor, and then The Mandalorian Season 3 somewhere there. And yes, Ewan McGregor returns as Obi-Wan in the Obi-Wan show. Now that had also some behind-the-scenes drama, which I was the first to report to you, and it was denied until Lucasfilm, about a week or so later, couldn't hide it anymore because they had to release the cast, the crew members from their contracts, because they took a big break, and they replaced the showrunner, in fact, after that. But now everything's looking great because, it's really impossible to mess up. Although never say never, but, Ewan McGregor coming back as Obi-Wan is very exciting. And then to double down on fandom and nostalgia, it was revealed at Disney Investor Day that Hayden Christensen is also returning as Darth Vader. That's amazing. This show will begin filming in early 2021 and has no release date just yet. Also, the reports, I've heard them as well from my sources, that Aladdin's Naomi Scott is one of the finalists for the female lead to make sure that show has some diversity, which is, I think, very important today for any project. Although, why will anyone, even Disney, give Mina Massoud more work? I'm very happy for Naomi Scott, who was fantastic in Aladdin. Everybody thought she was going to be a bad Jasmine, and she really blew everybody away. But Mina Massoud was a great Aladdin, and I feel bad that why isn't he in a Star Wars show? I think he'd be fantastic. He's got an amazing smile. All right, so anyway, the Obi-Wan show takes place after the prequels, but before A New Hope. Kenobi is self-exiled on Tatooine. We're back on that old dust ball again. And Luke and Leia, at this stage, are about 10 years old. So that should be interesting to see. He'll definitely, obviously he's looking after Luke, so we'll definitely see Luke, but I wonder if they'll show what Leia's up to at the same time. Finally, for live action, there's also the Lando show, which I've reported to you. As many have, it's still in development. I told you before that I heard they're considering flashbacks. They're going to be able to use both Donald Glover and Billy D. Williams. And then also, because the benefit of the flashbacks is not only Donald Glover, but you can go back to the Solo movie, which of course teased Darth Maul at the end, so you could put him in the mix on a Solo show. And then also you could have Emilia Clarke's Kira show up as well. I thought Solo, really came together at the end of the film. It's a shame. It's one of those movies where they're like, at the end, everything clicks into place. But the movie was so unsuccessful, we're never going to make a sequel. But maybe they will continue it as a television show. I think Donald Glover really never got a chance to show what he had as Lando. And that's one of the best castings I think we've ever seen in any franchise. So that is fantastic. Now, there's also some animation coming as well. The Bad Batch spinoff from the Clone Wars fans are very excited about. That's going to take place right after the original Clone War, which was detailed quite a bit in the animation. And Ming-Na Wen's Fennec Shand, was spotted in some of the images for the show, and she confirmed it. Will be showing up in that show in animated form, but it'll be her before the events that we see in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. Oh, we're going to have to start paying attention to the timeline because this is crazy. And Visions, an anime anthology series off to the side. So as you can see, very Marvel, but with the added wrinkle of a vast timeline to play with. To date, only Captain America, the First Avenger, Captain Marvel, and the upcoming Loki show have shown the MCU outside of current events. There was, of course, some fabulous time travel in Endgame, but it stayed in the MCU again, current events. So what show or shows are you the most excited about? All of them! Well, if you had to pick a few. I'm excited about Ahsoka because I love that episode so much. It's great. I think I really would love to see a female Jedi be well received. Rey had her moments. I did like the lightsaber battle and the Rise of Skywalker between her and Kylo Ren. You could feel how tired they both were and the strain. They were tired emotionally and physically. I thought it was great. But the Ahsoka stuff is phenomenal. So I'm very excited about that. Obi-Wan, for obvious reasons, because Ewan McGregor's back. We're going to get so many more memes and gifs. And Lando. I think, as I said, I thought Solo really came together at the last minute with that movie, and I think that show sounds fantastic. And also, all three of those shows have the most built-in mythology. And then also, of course, because we've watched 2 seasons now, I'm very curious to see what happens after the events of the season finale of Mando Season 2. So those are the things I'm the most excited about. Share your own thoughts down below. Subscribe today. And of course, as always, you can check out some more videos right now.